I've been an Oura Ring user for over 8 years. I've worn a Whoop for over 5. I've tracked my sleep, recovery, workouts, ovulation, even blood sugar. If there's a wearable out there, I've probably tried it. So when I first saw the Ultrahuman Ring AIR, I was intrigued. I thought it was just another knockoff of the Oura Ring. But let me tell you, after using it for a couple of months, there are huge differences. Not only does this ring give you more data than Oura and Whoop, but it's also a lot cheaper in the long term because they don't lock you into a subscription. There's no subscription model at all. And honestly, some of the features that this ring has, I would have never thought of. For example, the caffeine tracking and clearing. You can track your caffeine consumption throughout the day, and it lets you know how long it's going to take to clear from your system, so you don't end up drinking it too late and it impacting your sleep. And it also allows you to pair it with their continuous glucose monitor to get an even fuller picture of your overall health. Now, is this too much data for a lot of people? Maybe. And I'll talk about that too. But if you're on the fence and you've outgrown the Oura Ring, like I kind of have, this video is going to give you the full breakdown. So let's start with what the Ultrahuman Ring AIR actually is, especially if you're new to the world of wearable tech. So of course, this is a smart ring. It's lightweight, made from titanium, and designed to be worn 24/7 on your finger, just like the Oura Ring. But what sets it apart is just how much it tracks. This thing is packed with sensors. It monitors your heart rate variability, or HRV, your sleep cycles, your skin temperature, movement, respiratory rate, and even how long it takes you to fall asleep. So you're getting a full picture of your body's recovery, stress, and performance, and all from just a tiny little ring on your finger. And as I mentioned, you can pair it with the Ultrahuman CGM, which is their continuous glucose monitor. The ring syncs with your real-time blood sugar data. So you're not just seeing your sleep or your HRV in isolation. You're seeing how your blood sugar is impacting your recovery, your mood, your energy, your workouts, everything. It gives you a complete metabolic picture that no other device out there is offering. Nothing else I have tried or heard of pairs with a CGM like this. Now, that being said, you don't need a CGM in order to use the ring. The ring on its own will still give you a crazy amount of data. But if you're someone who's into optimizing health, biohacking, or managing things like insulin resistance, pairing the two takes your tracking to a different level. So I think the best way to summarize it is the Ultrahuman Ring AIR is combining what Oura Ring and Whoop are trying to do. But it's one device and it doesn't lock you into a subscription. And that's where it starts to stand out, because I know the subscription model is what turns a lot of people off Oura Ring and Whoop, myself included. Okay, so let's get into some of the features that Ultrahuman has to offer, because this is where it really starts to outshine its competitors. So first, the basics. Of course, it tracks your sleep, recovery, heart rate variability, resting heart rate, skin temperature, movement index, respiratory rate, and sleep latency. Pretty stock standard if you've already used Whoop or Oura. But in addition to this, you also get a circadian phase alignment score, movement frequency tracking, and cycle-related insights that are surprisingly detailed. Now, as someone who has used the Oura Ring for ovulation and cycle tracking for many years, I can tell you that the Ultrahuman Ring AIR gives you a lot more insights. With Oura, it only looks at temperature shifts, but the Ultrahuman Ring AIR builds a broader picture of where you're at hormonally and recovery-wise. And like I said, if you pair it with their M1 CGM, it integrates your blood glucose data into your recovery and readiness score, which is a big deal if your focus is on metabolic health. You literally see how your glucose fluctuations are affecting your sleep quality and your nervous system. And finally, as I've said a few times, but I think it is a pretty big deal, there's no subscription model. That means all these advanced features come unlocked straight out of the box. With Oura and Whoop, you're stuck paying $7 to $30 a month just to see the data you're already generating. With Ultrahuman, you buy the ring, and that's it. All right, let's talk about the pros and a few more features that are specific to Ultrahuman, because there's a lot to like here. Ultrahuman has a lot more features and a lot more insights. If you thought Whoop offered a lot, and it does, Ultrahuman goes even further. The app is rich with data, which is also visually clean and easy to navigate, which is important when you're dealing with a high volume of metrics. One of the features that you won't see on Whoop or Oura is caffeine tracking. Ultrahuman actually lets you log your caffeine intake, and the app uses that info to personalize your sleep and recovery insights. So if you had a double shot too late in the day, your readiness score will reflect how it likely impacted your deep sleep and HRV. Oura and Whoop don't take caffeine timing into account, which is wild considering just how much it impacts your nervous system. And then there's brain waste clearance, something that I had no idea you could track like this. Ultrahuman is the first wearable I've used that gives you insights into your body's lymphatic activity. That's your brain's overnight cleaning process that clears out waste and toxin. It factors in your sleep quality, temperature drops, and movement during the night to estimate how well your brain detoxed while you slept. It sounds futuristic, but it's legit. And it's not something Oura or Whoop even touch. There's also a movement frequency score that's different from a generic step count. It measures how frequently you move throughout the day, not just how much. It can highlight sedentary periods even if you hit 10,000 steps a day, which is super helpful for anyone working from a desk or trying to avoid metabolic slowdown. So yeah, it's not just tracking what you do. It's also interpreting how your body is responding at a much deeper level. And then there's the ovulation and cycle tracking. Like I said, this has been my main use for Oura for the last couple of years. But Ultrahuman takes this deeper. You get trends, thermal shifts, and readiness insights that actually feel personalized to your cycle, not just generic alerts. And then there's the metabolic health integrations. If you're using the M1 CGM, the insights feel less like wearable data and more like a full body performance dashboard. And this is super important for anyone dealing with insulin resistance, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, or PCOS. And then of course, a big pro is also that there's no subscription. Ultrahuman isn't locking your data up behind a paywall. It's all there for you as long as you have the device. And as far as I know, they don't have a plan to change this because in the past, when I first started using Oura, it was entirely free. Well, not free, obviously you paid for the ring, but there was no subscription model. And then they introduced the subscription model with one of their newer generations, but for anyone who already had the ring, as long as they upgraded, they became a legacy member. So I am actually a legacy member with Oura and I don't have to pay a subscription for that either, but I know that is a turnoff for anyone who is just looking to start using a wearable device and specifically a ring. And of course, it's a pretty good looking ring. It's lightweight, sleek, low profile, and feels like something you'd actually want to wear 24/7. Okay, but it's not all perfect. There are some downsides. So let's talk about the cons. The first one, and I actually spoke about this when I last reviewed Whoop, is data overload. Ultrahuman gives you a lot of information. And while that's a plus for data nerds, it can get overwhelming fast. And this is when data fatigue kicks in. You find yourself checking your metrics constantly or not knowing which numbers actually matter most. For most people, you probably don't need this much data daily. And this is actually one of the main reasons that I initially stopped using Whoop. I felt like I was spending a lot of time looking at my numbers every day, and I wasn't actually learning anything new. After using Whoop and other wearable recovery trackers for so long, I know what impacts my sleep, my recovery the most. Eating too close to bedtime, drinking any amount of alcohol, exercising in the evening. These are things that all negatively impact my sleep and my recovery. And that's basically a guarantee. I didn't need Whoop to tell me that. So for most people, this amount of data can feel a bit overwhelming, and it might not even be necessary. The second downside is that it's a ring. If you do any kind of strength training, anything with a barbell, it can kind of pinch your skin. Personally, when I go to the gym to do a strength training session, I take it off. And that's where Whoop still wins because yes, you can wear it on your wrist, but they also have their line of clothing garments that you can put the device in as well. And that's a part of Whoop that I really liked because a ring, not practical for weightlifting, not practical for sports. You're not going to be able to wear this playing most sports. So I personally play ice hockey, and when I was using Whoop, I had 2 of the sports bras, which the little sensor just slipped into. And that was perfect. I loved that I could wear it that way. Because even on my wrist during games, I felt like, not that it was going to get broken if I got slashed or something like that, but just that it might move around a little bit. But where it was positioned on the sports bra, perfect. So in that sense, I definitely think Whoop is better. And the third downside is that it doesn't have smartwatch features, obviously. Just like Whoop, just like Oura, there's no screen. You can't tell the time, you don't get notifications. And personally for me, that's actually a pro, but I know that is a con for a lot of people. I prefer to just be able to put my phone away, turn it on Do Not Disturb, and not get any notifications on my wrist. I already spend enough time on my phone. I don't need something else notifying me. But I know that is something that a lot of people use and find very beneficial. So, of course, you're not getting that with this. So overall, I don't think any of these are deal breakers, well, depending. If you're wanting a device to track your athletic performance during sports, then this isn't for you. But if you're wanting a real deep sense of where your metabolic health is at and all the different features we spoke about, then yeah, you might like this. Okay, but now since we're on the topic, let's talk about the differences between wearing wearables like this on your wrist versus your finger. Rings like Ultrahuman and Oura are amazing for passive tracking. Sleep, heart rate, temperature recovery. You barely notice them when you sleep. And they're less bulky than a wrist device. But for training and movement, I still think wrist or arm wearables have an edge. Like I said with Whoop, I love that you can wear it on different areas of your body. You're very limited with a ring. So I guess neither is better or worse. There are pros and cons to both. It just depends on what you're looking for. If you want low maintenance sleep and recovery tracking, then go with the ring. If you're more performance focused and want real-time movement and strain feedback, go with the wrist. All right, but now let's get into my verdict. Is the Ultrahuman Ring AIR better than the Oura Ring? Is it better than Whoop? And that's where I'm a bit torn. Overall, I do think, like I said before, I reached a point with Whoop where I was not getting any more out of that device. Everything it was telling me, I could already predict. But the Ultrahuman Ring AIR has introduced some new features. The caffeine tracking has been super insightful for me. It lets me know exactly when I need to stop in order to not see an impact on my sleep. And that's probably been the most interesting one for me personally. Now, like I said, with Whoop, I did get a bit of data fatigue and the whole... In theory, I like waking up and doing your little journal entry where you tick off all of the boxes for what you did the day before and what time, but it did get tedious. And like I said, I found myself not learning anything new. And I was wasting a lot of time checking the app throughout the day, checking my strain score, and I wasn't really getting anything out of it. With the Ultrahuman, you can kind of track your activity throughout the day and just any little things that you want to log and notes you want to make. But again, I still find this a little bit tedious, and I definitely think if you have never used a wearable device before, and if you are interested in all this data, if you're an athlete and you're really trying to dial in, then yeah, Ultrahuman can be great. It's not going to help you to track your activity during your sports, but day-to-day training, it is really good, and especially for recovery. And this has replaced my cycle tracking, which was really the only thing I've been using my Oura Ring for the last couple of years. Because I did find that temperature tracking was more accurate with Oura versus Whoop. That was the one area that I think Oura has the edge over Whoop. And I do like that Oura syncs with the Natural Cycles app, which Ultrahuman actually doesn't, but that's not the end of the world. So personally for me, I do think both Ultrahuman and Whoop are the best option for athletes. And if you do like a lot of data, if you are just trying to track your sleep and your recovery and improve your metabolic health in general, and you're not an athlete, then the Oura Ring still might be a good option, but Ultrahuman can be as well. And if you're just looking for something to wear day to day and get passive tracking, then yeah, Ultrahuman, it's great. And of course, no subscription model, so that is a plus. So it really just depends on what you're after. Personally, I have completely stopped using Whoop. I think I probably stopped like 6-8 months ago. I did a full video on that at the time talking about why I did that. So I'll link that up above if you want to check it out afterwards. And I went through a period of time where I was just wearing the Oura Ring when I was sleeping, basically just to get a little bit of insight into my sleep and to track my cycle. But now I have entirely switched to using Ultrahuman. I'm trying to pull back from using all of the features and tracking everything meticulously because I don't think it is really necessary. Although if you are someone who likes all of that data, then that option is there for you and it can be great. But this has been my go-to for now. And if you're thinking about trying it, if you're a little bit unsure, they do have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So honestly, might as well try it, see what you think. I do have a promo code to save 15% as well. That is Ultra Kait 15. So you can use that to save a little bit of money, give the ring a try, see what you think. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Have you tried Ultrahuman before? Are you currently using it, or are you using Oura or Whoop? What's your go-to? Maybe you use Garmin. Is there another device you use? I want to hear your experience, what you recommend, what you don't in the comments down below. And if you do end up trying Ultrahuman, come back to this video once you've been using it for a while and let me know your thoughts. I'm really curious to hear. But anyways, guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.